What happened at the wedding feast of Cana is one of the most significant miracles of Jesus' entire ministry, theologically, but also for each of us individually and personally. So I'd like to enter into that reflection once again through art, which I have found so helpful in the past. You have to remind me, I know I've asked before, how many of you have seen The Passion of Christ by Mel Gibson, by show of hands? Wow, not enough. Those of you who didn't have your hands up, shame. But certainly many of you have. So of those who raised their hands, hopefully you'll remember the scene with the woman who is caught in adultery. The camera pans over and she's lying prostrate on the rocky ground. Her face is scraped, her hands are blackened by dirt. Her expression reflects a heart that is ripped by guilt and fear. She's surrounded by religious leaders who look at her with complete contempt, each of them holding a stone to throw at her, each stone bearing a promise of death. There is no love here, no compassion. She has no friends, no one to advocate for her. This is, in every sense of the word, her judgment scene, and it's terrifying. But it's not unjust according to Mosaic law. So she doesn't fight it, even as she cowers from it. She is, however, in effect, a stand-in for every one of us. Because she, like all of us, simply sought love in the wrong places. She trusted in the wrong things. She chased the promises issued by those who do not have the power to deliver on them, which is something we all often do. And in this way, her adultery represents the promiscuity, really, of the human heart that gives itself out there to sin, or looks to anything but God for its satisfaction or security. And the result is that it leaves us broken and vulnerable. Have you ever asked in that scene, where is this woman's lover now during the time of her judgment? Where is his protection, his abundance, his promises, the happiness that he sold her? Because now only God's law, present in these stones held by their leaders, surrounds her. And there in the midst of all of it, she lies in the scene, powerless in rebuttal. But see, the same is true for all of us when we give ourselves to sin or entrust ourselves to the world. It's a position none of us should want to be in. Okay, but the wedding feast of Cana flips all of that. John tells us there are 6 stone jars used for ceremonial washing. Just like the throwing stones, these stone jars represent the Mosaic law, because the same law that prescribes the stoning of someone caught in adultery is also the law that prescribes these washings for purification. And while there are many practical reasons that one would want stone for the jar, what we can say is that stone, by its nature, is cold, it's harsh. It wounds when rubbed up against, as justice does when it is served alone. And the woman caught in sin is suffering this kind of justice. The distress of the people when the wine runs out foreshadows the anguish of the woman facing her condemnation. And both the crowd at the wedding and the woman in the gospel are utterly powerless to change their fortune, as are all of us, if we're honest, which is why these aren't just stories. They are reflections of our own condition. And standing in the middle of both of these crises is Jesus Christ. When Jesus fills those stone jars with wine, he's filling the law with mercy. The same mercy that reaches out to pick up this adulterous woman from the ground. The same mercy whose eyes see her with compassion, recognize that she is more than just her mistakes, and restores her to the dignity of being a daughter of God. And the sign for all of this is the wine. Wine is a sign in biblical context for life, for joy, for freedom, but above all, for divine love. And see, God has a word for this. And you've heard this word spoken by me before. It's a word the church is clothing herself in even as we speak. The word is Jubilee. God promised in the prophet Joel that at the time of fulfillment, when he would unleash Jubilee into the world, the sign for this day is that wine would flow. And flow it does, from heaven to Bethlehem, from Bethlehem to Cana, from Cana to this woman caught in adultery, and every single person whom Jesus meets. This wine will flow out of every wound of Christ and all the way down the hill of Calvary until it reaches this altar and enters into your lips in the Eucharist. When the true bridegroom comes to you in the real wedding banquet of the Mass. This reality is so astounding, we can actually go back to the scene of the adulterous woman and ask and then answer those fundamental questions. Where is her lover? Where is his abundance? Where is his promise? When Jesus' eyes meet hers, he's telling her it's right here. It's me. I alone will satisfy your heart. I alone will keep my promises to you. I will save you in your hour of need because I love you with an infinite love. I am your bridegroom of Jubilee. And the wedding feast of Cana sets the stage for that incredible revelation. At the end of our life, each of us will stand before the judgment seat of God, and it will be a time of great distress. Paul is very clear about that. At that moment, God will illuminate our actions and intentions, and the result of that will be either eternal life or eternal death. But before that moment comes, as with our gospel, Jesus is reaching out his hand. He reaches with the desire of a husband for his bride. He reaches to give us hope embedded in Jubilee, to clear our debts, restore our dignity, and raise us to life in the freedom of fellowship with him. This promise he pledges when he turns that water into wine, and he fulfills when he turns bread and wine into his flesh and his blood that we receive.